Yo, so I just something profound came to mind. Persona 5 related. So I got to give you the full story. I'm going to be quick as possible. It's about, I guess I would call it like memory hacking, not memory hacking, but you'll see, hijacking. I'll use that term. Okay. So this story is about Futaba. Where I left off in the pod about Futaba's palace in the Medjed and how we're in Egypt or some simulated Egypt. And I have to explain to you her story. So Futaba is she doesn't know who her father is. Her mother is this super devoted scientist dedicated to cognitive science, and not just regular cognitive science, but cognitive PSIENCE, which focuses more on supernatural sciences. She has a great deal of information that is, I would say, top secret. So that puts a target on the mother, but I'll get back to her. Uh, so it's just Futaba and the mother, young little Futaba. We're talking Tyler Futaba and the mother spending time together, and not time together because the mother spends all of her days dedicated to studies, dedicated to this, dedicated to that, and to where they don't have dinner together, they don't do anything together. And Futaba, little Futaba's like, yo, like, mom, we only eat microwave dinners and we don't spend the time. Can you take me somewhere? The mother's like, sure, okay, I got you, but I'm almost done. Let me just get this research done. Suddenly one day, Futaba's mother jumps in front of traffic and commits suicide in front of her, right? And Futaba is frazzled, doesn't know what's going on, and then before you know it, these men in suits, in some other this woman and these men in suits, approach her and give her a suicide note that they say was written from the mother. And in the letter, the note is saying it's talking about how much of a burden Futaba was. And this was, of course, this is the mother writing all this, that she was a burden, she was difficult, this and that and the other. So of course, young Futaba is distraught. She's internalizing all this guilt. I killed my mother, and she's open and vulnerable. So these men in suits, I would assume these are like the co-workers or whomever, have read this note to her and all of Futaba's family members, and Futaba has maintained this guilt. So long story short, my characters, the protagonist characters, Guardian Sojiro, adopted Futaba, and now she lives with him around the corner from the cafe that I live in. And what ends up happening is that we go to explore her shadow world, or we go to explore her subconscious, and we find that she has all this guilt about it. But in this journey, we see that we are learning that the things that she was told were false. All of the stuff that was told about the mother, the suicide note, was false. All of that stuff was false. So it then leads us to think that, okay, was she murdered? But of course, if Futaba saw it, then she clearly did commit suicide, or did she? Who knows what happened? We'll get it. That's a whole nother part of the game I'm not even in yet. But anyway, so what this brought to mind to me was this tendency that happens where we can choose to remember things as they weren't. Or we can even be manipulated in our vulnerability to see things how they were never seen. And in this particular case, she honestly thought her mother was one way, and she had to sit with herself and get herself together and realize, like, yo, my mother actually was never like that. She never, the people in the suited men and the women told her that her mother had this maternity psychosis or something like that, and was trying to indicate that the mother was crazy and she was dealing with some type of bipolar disorder or whatever, and that's why she did what she did. And they were implanting memories in her mind, like she didn't like Futaba, she was this and she was that. So Futaba really thought that to be true. Again, until we were in her subconscious and we did our thing in the shadow world and yada yada yada. But again, when I think about this, I think about the youth in social services, and I think about how it's kind of common for a lot of youth to be fed narratives and to be even given memories or told things that they don't even remember to be true. Or, you can ask them, did that really happen? Or sometimes they may say, well, sometimes I don't even think I'm really this or I'm really that, because some things don't make sense. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, yo, these things really do happen. People are either, even if it's not on this memory hijacking thing, a lot of youth I find are being told over and over they have oppositional defiance disorder, they have this diagnosis, they have that diagnosis, and a lot of them wear that diagnosis, they wear it as their personality, and that's how they go on about their world. And it's not fair to them, because when a child is taken out of their home, they're highly vulnerable, anything is bound to get into their mind. So it just brought to me the importance of guarding your mind, the importance of that, and the importance of knowing your heart, knowing yourself, because you will find that sometimes we can choose to see things or remember things in the way that it never was, or we may choose to cloak ourselves in identities and things that were never us to begin with. And it was a pretty deep and pretty interesting palace in comparison to Madarame's. But I see the lessons in all this, and I'm just like, wow, this happens in real life when you think about it. I think there's some people who talk about repressed memories and accessing repressed memories. That was kind of a repressed memory exercise in the game. So I thought it was dope. And I think that it would be useful to consider when we find ourselves thinking one way of a person or of something based on either what someone has told us that we don't know to be true, then maybe reconsider, but it was just an interesting layered lesson in that I enjoyed. So yeah, I'm gonna drop a podcast episode about it. I've already recorded it. I'm just waiting because I have other things I'm doing, and yeah, but it was pretty dope. It was pretty dope. I would say that was probably, right now, that's been my favorite palace out of all of them. Although I identified the most with Madarame's, with Yusuke and Madarame, that dynamic, this one was like, oh, huh, so anyway, my 2 cents.